Hi, my name is Tercia, and in this video, I'm gonna review how I did my UiPath program.
Alright, so to start explaining my agenda, I'll first start by introducing what's my genre of selection, okay? So for the company that I select was the company with the highest PE ratio within the semiconductor industry. Okay, here's why. Cause with the advancement and widespread adoption of IT and smartphone, there will be a surge in demands of manufacturing components required by high-end CPUs and even GPUs, like graphic cards and high processing power needed. All needs semiconductor. So this is the justification. Okay, then to jump into my UiPath program, first I'll just introduce that my program is run in a sequence by 4 main workflow. Okay, so let's explore the first workflow. Okay, so for the first workflow, right, it's uh, my sequence is segmented into 3 parts. First is the data scraping, which will goes to the Yahoo Finance website. This is preset already. It's this URL, right, is set into technology industry with semiconductor industry. Then these are all the data which I will be scraping. So first I use open browser activity. Then I type the string variable which store the preset website. This will go to the website this website. So after I extract, right, using this data scraping activity, I close the tab. This is because I don't want to have extra tabs in the later flows. Like I don't want them to affect other stuff. Okay, but before I even append them into a Excel file, right, I will actually use this filter data table. Okay, here's why. Because you see, for some PE ratio, some companies PE ratio, you see got NA one. NA cannot be calculated. They will be read as string. So it's not good. So I will just filter them. And it's very simple. For all the extracted data with PE ratio that contain, for all the P ratio columns with NA with like non-applicable, I'll just remove them. So this is what the end result will look like. You see, all of them don't have any NA. Okay, so coming back to the workflow. Okay, so after I actually did the data massaging, okay, I will just append them into raw scrape data, which you can see over here. Then before I begin to append, right, it's important for me to clear the streaks, clear the sheets using SL delete range. Here's why. Because sometimes like if this is not the first time it runs, sometimes they will display like 20 or 50 or 60, so it's very unpredictable. So in order not to have collision, right, like of collision of data, like sometimes the second time run, you have first time's data over like here, which is why I want to prevent that so I use SL delete range function activities. Then after I actually cleanse it first, then I insert all the stuff within the Excel sheet. Oh, by the way, all this data is stored in abstract data table, and yeah, this is later append into the Excel sheet. So this is the first the first workflow for mine. So 3 steps: data scraping, data cleansing, then insert the cleansed data. Alright, so for the second workflow, right? Okay, let's open the second workflow. Okay, this workflow is also very simple. It's basically sorting sorting the company's data according to their PE ratio. So you can see that uh, this is the final result. You see, all the companies, they will be ranked in an ascending order from low to high. Okay, why I want to do this is because at the end, I want the best company. Meaning, like PE ratio, the lower the better. If the PE ratio is 10, meaning that within 10 years, if I invest the company, if I bought the entire company, within 10 years, I can receive back all the investment fund. So this company has 6.5 lah. So in this case, right, I will always want the top dog to be listed in the second row. Then their investment synchronon, their stock acronym, the stock name will be listed in A2, and this will later help assist me in extracting their data. Okay, so but let's just go back to the UiPath first. So first thing first, I will create a Excel application scope. Then I will just sort the data according to PE ratio. It's very simple. I'm just using a Excel read range to select all. Then I assign the rows count using this code, input table dot row dot count. This input table, right, is actually a empty data table variable. Then okay, once this is done, right, they will actually have the rows length. Uh, then later on, I use SL select range and type this. This will actually allows me to select the entire table, like existing data. Okay, then follow up, I will just use Windows Code to open the application file for the Excel sheet. Then I will just create table using Control T hotkey. I realized that I can actually create the table using create table, but at that time I didn't know. So at this point I'm used to it, and if it works, it works. So I just use Control T plus enter, and this will allow me to create a table. You can see this, like this table. Initially they were not table. Okay, so after that the table is done. Then I will sort the table using the sort table, Excel sort table activity, and it's also very simple. Just clicking the sheet 1 and table 1. Oh, by the way, this is default as table 1. I just this is something I learned. Like whenever you create the first table, they will always be table 1. Then they will sort according by the PE ratio bracket TTM column. So once it's sort, right, according to ascending order here. So once it's sort, right, I'll just save the workbook. It's important to save, otherwise they wouldn't, everything I did will be gone to waste. So once this is done, right, I will have all the companies sort in an ascending order according to their PE ratio from low to high. So in this case, the top dog of the day, right, will always be here. Usually is these two companies, they perform quite well. Okay, so after this after this workflow, right, they will move on to find best company workflow. So how does this workflow goes? I'll explain. Okay, so this workflow serves to retrieve the stock name of the semiconductor company who have the best PE ratio. So in this case, you can guess like is this company. So what I actually want, right, is stocks acronym, the short form SSLLF. So with this, right, in the first activity, you can see read cell and retrieve from sheet 1 A2. So where is A2? A2 is here. Okay, so after that, right, I will just manipulate the URL. This is taught by my mentor, and if you want to take a look, we can actually open this. So this is the pattern in which Yahoo use whatever the best name is, right, the best company's acronym is, just put here, and they will actually goes to the URL. And by the way, the best company is actually a empty string variable which set as the output of the read cell activity. So in this case, right, the program will actually take this and goes to their company's portfolio page. Then this is so in this case, right, what you actually see is actually this. Let me just remove this to a SSLLF. So SSLLF. Okay, maybe I need to remove this also. Okay, let me just do this. Then SSLLF. Okay. Yeah. How come it doesn't work? Oh, maybe I included something else. Okay, but never mind. Let me just do it again. Let me just remove all this first. Okay, SSLLF. SSLLF. Okay, I will assume that it can get me to the page. Oh yes, so now I'm at this page. Okay, so this is what the program will goes to in this workflow. they will use open browser and goes to this page whereby they will scrape this data. So this is what I want because my team and I are using a gross profit margin. So gross profit margin is actually revenue divided by gross profit. Wait, or is it the other way around? Not entirely sure, but later we can see it. Okay, so first of all, actually it's a repetitive thing lah. Like I'm basically scraping three of the same stuff, like total revenue, gross profit. Total revenue, then gross profit, then the dates. So you can see at the start, right, I scrape the date. Date is over here, and I'm basically using a get text activity. It's important to note one thing, which is because my entire function, right, was not a static thing. I'm not always going to go to the same company. What if the next day, right, like maybe this company becomes the top dog, then the selector element will actually differ, you know. So this is what I encountered during the making of my solution, which is their selector, right, will always be like anchored to. Okay, so initially their selector was this. They actually anchored to this stuff. This is the stocks, you know. The stock change every day. So every day I like maybe today it works, and then tomorrow it wouldn't work. So how I solved this, right, was I use a method taught by my mentor, which is the UI solution. It's UI Explorer. So by using this UI Explorer, I can actually indicate uh, like other selector that I want. Then I can pick up the elements which I can select, like maybe like CSS selector or other stuff. This is basically telling the program, right, to anchor based on other things. Maybe you can anchor on things that are much more static, like the income statement. You know, they will always be income statement instead of this stock thing. You know, this stock value will change every day, so this is quite dangerous. And even if other company is selected, maybe like AMD, you know, the graphic card company, maybe AMD is selected, then uh, all this stuff will change, a lot of stuff here also maybe will change, but this thing wouldn't change. So this is something to note, like during my development. Okay, then basically it's repetitive lah. Okay, same thing. Every time I script them, right, I store them in a string variable. Then once I store all of them, right, I actually test all of them. I want to check if the testing was correct. I mean, sorry, the scraping was actually successful. Okay, so every time all of them is scraped, like scrape all in once, then write line all in one. So when I run, I can tell lah. Then once it's written, right, like write line done, right, then I will set another sequence which includes a appending of data into the data table. So in this case, it's a date dt, and this is using a build data table. This is to allow me to create a data table with stock date as the header. Okay, so then the next step is obviously add the data row, which in this case you see the array row. You see you got like D2018, 2019, 2019, 2018, 17, and 16, all in the date dt. Okay, so actually all the other two, right, is actually the same thing. So I can let you see my gross profit, almost the same. So I extract them using get text and output them to respective string variable. Then I use write line to double confirm that, you know, the program is working, like when I run. So this is developer view, quite important. Okay, then I build the data table on the spot. Then I append all the scripted data into their respective data table. Okay, so same thing again, scrape revenue data from Yahoo Finance and store them. It's interesting that once the CSS selector is changed in the UI Explorer, all the others get text activities will also follow. So same thing. So all this is almost the same. Then the next step, right, is actually quite different. This step is actually selecting the company's name. I want to use this because in the later activity, right, I actually want to use the company's name within my email as well as having them displayed within my graph. I got generate graph. Okay, so uh, so after all the scraping of data for this tree value is done, I also want to have this name. And this thing is actually quite simple. The selector, right, doesn't have much to to choose from. They will always be accurate because they are H1. Yeah, which is in HTML element, it's quite distinct. So don't have to worry about this. This is proven in several iterations. Okay, to be very stable. Okay, so after which I will use this try catch loop to ensure that before I even append the data, right, I actually delete existing data if there is any existing data. So let's say I run this time today, I run, then the SL is there already. So in order to prevent data collision, I use a nested delete under the try catch function to ensure that the file will be deleted lah. So but in the case if the file is not deleted, right, at least it's in try catch, so they will have I will add this file not found exceptions to prevent the program from having runtime error. So let me just show you what I delete. So I will actually try to delete gross profit if they exist beforehand. And this is, to ensure that there is no existing gross profit, and if there is, delete them. Okay, so some may ask, if I don't use try catch, what will happen? So what will happen is if there is no try catch, right? Then if there is an existing gross profit, they will delete them, no problem. But if there is no existing gross profit SL file, then the program will encounter error. So that will be bad lah. So I use this try catch. Okay, then after which the last step for this activity, okay, is appending the three data tables into the gross profit sheet 1. So like you can as you can see in the earlier activity, see all these three data are stored in data a date TD and a DT, revenue DT, and gross profit DT. And so for now, I will use a SL application scope to goes to the gross profit SL sheet. If there is no gross profit SL sheet, they will just create a new one. Okay, then I will just append this data into the respective column. So let me just show you what the gross profit actually looks like. So okay, so this graph doesn't exist first. So ignore this graph first. And ignore this stuff also. Okay. So in this case, right, once all the data tables are generated, I will append all of them inside. Okay, for this, right, this is the revenue TTM, 12 months. I actually wanted to use them like to substantiate my investment proposal within the email. But later on, I figure out that since my teammates are using just gross profit margin, then never mind, so we can ignore this. I haven't deleted because I think it will be on use one day. So let me just maybe comment this out. Okay, then after which I will append the respective data table into their column. So as you can see here, the date is start from A1, which is here. The C is under, the gross profit is under C, and the revenue is under D. So some may ask why you want to like make such a weird table. Here's why. Because later on I'm gonna add this gross profit margin. This is manually. This is done later, and these are actually formulas, like divided. So let's just pretend that this thing doesn't exist first. Okay, so we are done for the second workflow. Okay, then are we done? I guess we are not done yet. Okay, I say. Yes, calculate gross profit margin. Yes. I almost forget this. So after which, right, like all the data is data table is filled here and here, right? I will proceed to use Excel application scope again to go into gross profit Excel sheet and input this GP margin under B1. So this will be here. Then later on I will actually select all under sheet 1 using Excel read range. Then I proceed to count their rows count using input table dot rows dot count, and this row count, right, is actually a generic value. Okay, the purpose of doing this, right, is to allow me to how to say iterates and basically floods the entire B1 to B5 based on the length of this. So this is actually quite dynamic. Okay, then so C2 divide by D2, so gross profit divide by revenue. This is actually the formula to calculate gross profit margin. So once this step is done, right, the inside the program is actually looks like this. Okay, so like quite nice, huh? Then after which, this is where the most interesting part comes already. Like, I think not everyone know. Some of my friends and classmates, they are using recording to like select this, then go here, generate here. I think that's quite troublesome. From what I learned what I explored throughout this assignment, I actually downloaded a package which is called the Balareva Excel activities, and this activities, right, is actually damn powerful. Okay, let me just show you Balareva. Yes, this activities includes a lot of Excel graphical interactions as well as comment and like merging of cells, like all that stuff is very powerful. So instead of using recording, right, I actually generate the graph just using one activity, and this activity is actually called a line chart activity. And all I have to do, right, was to input the Excel files directory. Then I can actually select the range. So as you can see over here, I type A1 to A5, A to B5, right? So you might ask, where is this? So this is wait. I say this. So this is here. So once I select this, they will actually ask me to choose a kind of line chart lah. I just use the most simple one, the line. So this is the graph they generated for me. Then they will also ask for chart title, which in this case, right, I actually use best company name. You remember, which I extracted earlier, and append them. And add the dash gross profit margin. So this is what it looks like at the end. You see the name, then the gross profit margin. But this is not enough. In order for the graph, right, to actually exist as a JPEG, as an image file, I have to use this function called the activity called the extract graph image. And this is also actually very direct. I just simply type in the directory name, then just type in the Excel file directory path, then give a sheet name, tell them which sheet, which usually is sheet 1. Then they will just generate the actual graph. So once this graph is generated, right, it's for me is I set it to here lah. So it's in graph folder. Okay, this path directory is quite important because in later case, in the email segment, right, you will see why. Okay, so I believe we are done with this find company workflow. So for now, I will just go to email activity workflow, which in this case, I actually combine PDF and email activity together. So even though I call it email activity workflow, it's actually PDF and email. So in this case, right, once the email activity workflow is called out, they will actually pop out a few input dialogues. So first, they will ask the user to key in the recipient email, which I actually preset it as my reporting officer's email. Then, so this save a lot of time. Then I have the subject, like allow them to write the subject's name, then and store them in subject. Oh yeah, and this just so you know, this is stored in email address. and this they will then goes to the PDF input dialog, which actually have a few options for the user to choose, and these are actually the various different types of PDF files given by the school. And yep, I basically output whatever the user select as selected PDF. So after this, right, I proceed to move on to reading of the PDF. But we can't just like select one like PDF to read, because how should I put this? There is many PDF types, and in our case, right, I realized that if we just use one type of reader, right, like some other version cannot be read. I also not sure if this is intended to be this way, but anyway, the way I do it is I get a first PDF reader located under the try. So they will first try the PDF, so the selected PDF, which is in this case is like whatever the user select, using read PDF text. Then after that, if this pass, right, then okay, then pass, then can go here. But if it fails, right, then goes to the second layer, second line of defense. So to ensure that it actually tries a lot, so I use a second reader, which is read with OCR, read PDF OCR. Then so by this time, hopefully the reader can read something. But if still cannot read, right, maybe it's because the file don't exist, or like that don't have the name, all that. Like, so we'll need to, like, as a good developer, as a competent developer, it's important to have like try catch, to have error handling function. So in this case, right, my error handling was actually the most simplest way. I just pop out an error message, invalid error, unable to read selected PDF. So after at least I tell the user, then let them to deal with it, let them figure out what's wrong, cause I also don't know what's wrong, and to code a very specific case is quite troublesome. So I just give a very generic explanation. Oh, invalid error. Okay, but let's assume that the file is there and the user can read. So in the event where the user can read, right, this program, email activity program, will just goes to assign activity, which I actually assign the image file of the statistical graph to here. Okay, to attachment path. So this is actually my graph folder. I preset it as attachment graph string variable with default value as my path. So if you read this, right, you can see that I use directory dot get value, then bracket attachment path, then star JPEG. Okay, the reason I use star is to just select any lah. Like maybe this time they can be AMD dash gross profit. Next time they can be like silicon industry gross profit. Like, so the name that shouldn't like matter. So in this case, just select all, which is star in this case. Then after they selected the graphical file and name the file directory as img files, they will then goes to this send outlook mail activity, which in this case, you remember how we actually extracted the email address from earlier input dialog. So we have the input dialog, the user generated email address and subject. This subject is not the subject itself, it's actually the string variables that we generated earlier in the input dialog. Okay, so we have the email recipient as the email, then subject as whatever the user typed in the earlier input dialog. Then we'll have this preset context. So in this case, for my text is, so hi Mr. Kotong, I'm Jia blah blah blah, CEO, and I'll be recommending see the best company name, which I retrieved from very early activity. Then I'll just tell them, stock as our investment choice as a high PE ratio, as they have the highest PE ratio within the industry, semiconductor industry. Yep. So then I attach this and that. Then this gross profit margin for the past 4 years. So in this case, right, the email will actually send the graphical component, sorry, the graph lah. So in this case, you can see sometimes I send myself like to test. So this is what the actual email will look like, and this is what I send to my friend at the end, because I don't want to spam him, Okay, so let's just move on. Okay, we shall just move on first. Okay, then but even after we send, right, we still need to ensure that we actually deleted all the files within the graph folder. So if you actually look here, right, you can only see one, and this is actually I put it back first for viewing one. But in the case if we didn't remove existing files, right, if we didn't delete any existing file, right, they could have just sent like this kind of stuff, like double email, double attachment, or sometimes like triple attachment. Depends on how many runs how many times you actually run the program. So it's quite important to delete the file. So in this case, I'll actually like use system.io .directory and links them to the attachment path, which is this place. Then I will just iterate through for each loop to delete all the files within that folder using delete. It's very simple, quite simple, like for each file in the path directory, in this directory, frame under system.io .directory, just delete all. So in this case, every time after they send the email, they will actually delete all the files existing here. So this is to ensure that every time we send our reporting officer, right, they will always only send one email. Okay, so at this time you might be like curious of how this program works, right? So let me just close all the Excel sheet and stuff to view how this program is run. So let us run for the first time. As you can see, it goes to the semiconductor page to scrape all the stock data, and they proceed to generate the table. Then you see they goes to the SSLLF, the respective company's portfolio page. Then they extract the data into gross profit. Then yes, so this is at the email activity now. So they actually asked me to type in the recipient's email, which I preset to my reporting officer's email already. Then the title. So maybe let me just write the title. Oh, this is my investment proposal. Okay. Then they will ask me to choose. So let me just try the first one. Maybe later we can try the second one. And you can see that all will work. Okay, so it says completed. So let us just verify that we actually send the email to my reporting officer. Okay, so let's just check the Outlook. Then look at the 已发送邮件, which is send email. Okay, you can see the timing, like 1136. Then this is the content. So let me just delete all this stuff. Then we can see again if the program can work well again. So in this case, so here it goes again. It goes to the page, extract all the data, and import them in the Excel sheet. This time round it's actually AMS AG. Okay, then they generate the gross profit margin, and they will run through all this stuff until here. Okay, so I send to the same guy again, and say this is my second proposal. Okay, and this time around I can select anything else. So maybe I select 3. So the first time I select the V1, this time around I select V3. Okay, so it says completed. So let us just check the Outlook again. Okay, so under send email, 已发送邮件, you can see that just now is 3.6, now is 3.7. It sends the same thing. So just now is Siltron AG. I don't know why in 1 minute this guy become the top. Okay, but this is it, I guess. And one important thing I think I could have mentioned is the passing of arguments from string to string. From workflow to workflow. So initially I wanted to do everything together so I don't have to use this. But at the end, my friend taught me to use this function, which is importing of arguments. Like one is to go out, then the other is to go in. Yep, so this sums up my presentation. I guess you have to also do the reflection, right? So for my reflection, I guess it's like learning how to use plugin package and UI Explorer. So at the start, I wanted to use recording, but at the end, this plugin is very useful. Like this is created by some community moderator in the UiPath community, and his plugin is called Balareva, which I mentioned earlier. Then the other learning point is the usage of UI Explorer, which my mentor taught me. It's very useful in identifying the right HTML elements to anchor on. Then for the self-critique, right, like the solution improvement points, I would say that instead of appending all the extracted data like into so many variables, I could have just append one I could have just designed the activity flow to append the string variables into data tables each time they were extracted. So by this method, I will not require so many string variables to be created. And because I only need one string variables to do the job, and this new method allows the string variables to be reused each time after it was appended into their respective data table. And this method will lower the requirement of RAM usage, and it's more efficient. Okay, so this sums up my UiPath assignment solution. Thank you.